Good evening. I'd like to call the Haymarket Town Council regular monthly meeting for Monday, August 5th to order. Roll call, please.
Yannick, Casanello,
Present.
Hader,
Yes.
Thurston, Schneider,
Here.
Ramirez,
Here.
Gallagher.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, so we will now have the invocation given by Pastor Don Meeks from Greenwich Presbyterian Church. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be with you all again. Let us pray. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has given us to live in this great and free nation and in this community we call Haymarket as neighbors and friends, that we might raise our families and ply our trade and gather for worship and seek liberty and justice for all. Be close to all who find themselves in harm's way this day, whether in the armed forces or as first responders, especially those who protect this community and law enforcement. We thank you for the willing hearts and hands of our town council members. May each council member be guided by a spirit of faithful stewardship, wisdom, and humility. Watch over their families, protect each of them from discouragement, anger, or weariness of spirit. And so grant favor upon all who call Haymarket their home, that working together for your will, it may be done on this portion of the earth as it is in heaven. We ask this in the hope and strength of your great name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you so much. So we have on the agenda the Rotary Club on the Flags for Heroes event. Please.
Thank you, Ms. Vice Mayor. It's that time of the year. I'm just here tonight from representing, Mark, please join me. Mark Cook is our president-elect and current secretary, longtime member of our club. But first and foremost, I want to thank the mayor, vice mayor, council, staff for allowing us to have Flags for Heroes again this year at the Haymarket Park. We did change the date, and you all, it was a request on our end, and you all were gracious enough to grant that to us. And so it will be the week of the 9th of September, but the ceremony that we have, which is about an hour in duration every year, will be at 5 p.m. on September 14th. And if I might, I'll go ahead and just hand each of you one of our flyers. That's the date on it. Also has a piece on there if you want to designate a flag for anyone. So
Absolutely.
I'm wearing two hats here. Some potential fundraising too for
Absolutely.
folks in the community.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, pleasure having you.
Right.
Chief Al has already confirmed an invitation earlier. But I want to thank you all, but also I want to invite you all to attend. It'd be our honor to have you. Also, in the past, the mayor of the town has spoken, so that it would be great if we could host him as a speaker for about 3 minutes if he's not available. Vice mayor would be awesome too. We would love to have the vice mayor or mayor. But we're really stoked about it. We're making very good progress. It's getting really close. But we did want the date this year because we've had a golf tournament, a night golf tournament, then just a golf tournament in the fall in the past. We're not doing that this year. We have a pickleball tournament that we do with our Warrenton Club in the spring, which is going awesome. So this is a big fundraiser for us. And it is in concert with the Creekside Veterans Club in the Creekside community. Mark's a resident there, and he's also a member of the Veterans Association. And so it's very important because the net funds that we get from this go back into the community and primarily around mental health. They go to several nonprofits historically that help youth in mental health. And then the Creekside Veterans, Mark, you could probably speak to how the net proceeds. It's a 50-50 share. I don't want to go into a real deep dive because I know you guys have a big agenda. but I would like you to know that it's a gorgeous event. We really are honored to put it on, but also it does have what I call a net-worthy benefit to the community. Mark?
And the Creekside Veterans Club is a 52-member of our small community of the Creekside Regency on Catharpin Road. There's over 50 veterans that are a member of the club, and we support senior adult veterans in our area in multiple ways in the USO. So it's a great cause for that too.
Thank you, Mark. And I'd be remiss if I didn't add that Supervisor Weir has been gracious enough to attend the event, as he has for many years in the past. So thank you, Supervisor Weir. Any questions from the town council, vice mayor, staff?
Is Supervisor Weir going to speak to?
Well, I don't know about this event, but
Yes.
you put me on the spot.
I
I don't
know.
want to say no or yes, because I cannot speak for Supervisor Weir. But he's confirmed and gracious to attend as he always does. But if no other further questions, I'll sit down. Yes, sir.
The qualifications or any other requirements have not changed, they're still the same, anyone that wishes to support a veteran, whether in town or out of town or in the area?
Yeah, it can be. What we've done is, I think originally the concept was kind of like law enforcement, military, but we've expanded that to really any hero in your life. It could be a mentor, health professional, teacher, educator, just anyone. We have 2 categories: in honor of and then in memory of.
Okay.
In my instance, my father served in the Navy, so typically I'll designate a flag for him.
Right.
And then my son's a Navy corpsman. I'll probably do one in honor of him as well. And so each honoree, the way that our system works, if you will, or the event works, is that at the ceremony, we'll have a table with certificates that are frameable, but also there's laminated cards. And so typically the sponsor of the flag will take that card, it'll have a zip tie, and they can attach it to one of the flags that's at the site. And we will light the flags up at night. We'll have illumination, and we expect to put the flags up no later than the 13th. They'll be illuminated, and then we'll coordinate with the town. Usually we keep them in place for several more days. And then, of course, we remove them. We remove the sleeves out of the ground, and we refill the soil and invite the town folks to inspect to make sure that we've done a good job of filling the holes, because that's important. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to say, and we can make certain to support the event by advertising through our farmers market and our newsletter and any other public events that we might have.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And if you need any other information, please reach out.
100%.
Okay.
This
Thank you
is-
so much.
This is a question for the staff. Relative to the construction that's ongoing, I guess this is something else that'll have to be coordinated because they'll be doing the sidewalk at the same time.
We'll be in touch. We can reach out this weekend.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Super.
Thank you.
Just as you leave too, just this fall, good luck, but go Army, beat Navy.
Yeah.
Yes, Army.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So on our next agenda item, we have Colin Gallagher, our Eagle Scout Award Project update. Please, thank you, sir.
Hi. So I've passed out my Eagle Scout Project workbook, which has a lot more details about my project and just what's going to happen, some questions that can be answered through it. This first page is more instructions for me on how to do my Eagle project. Then I have contact information for various people who will need to be who will need to sign off on this. Then after that is some of the information about it, the questions.
Sorry, Colin, a lot of us just are having to get caught up real quick on
Yeah.
this, so.
That's what I was going to suggest. Maybe you could just give a 2-minute summary of, again, what you're looking to do and
Okay.
to that, so that everybody's aware and know what we're looking at.
Okay, thank you. So my project would be to build a reflection garden in the town park where members of various communities or religions can go and just reflect, pray, meditate, whatever they feel need to do, and to just give them a space to do that.
When do you want to do this?
So right now I'm aiming towards late August or September.
So the overall objective is a space to bring our community together.
Yes.
Did you have a tentative location already at the park, or is that
yes.
still to be? Oh, sorry, on that would be behind the, to the rear of the property. Okay.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this previously, right? We had a discussion at one of our work sessions for staff. You guys good with this and location and?
Yes, so Colin and I met last week and we visited the property and talked about the location. He's identified it here in his packet. When we walked back there, this was a kind of underutilized area that sits between the Haymarket Baptist Church property and the town's property. There's some nice tree shading that already is there in existence. And we felt that this was a good, quiet area that was kind of out of the sidewalk, busy street frontage, but it wasn't completely tucked back right on top of the residence. So I am in support of this location that he has selected, but we will certainly look at other locations should the council have other requests.
For staff and for Colin, once the project's complete, we would bear the burden of maintaining as part of our normal landscape or sort of our normal maintenance plan.
I think you should discuss that with Colin. I know he put a note in here that the troop would possibly help clean and maintain, but he might have suggestions on that.
I know that the Troop 1882 is very, we're constantly looking for more service projects to do, just ways that we can help around our community. And I feel that this would be a perfect opportunity for us to just have a yearly thing we could do, maybe even semi-yearly, and just go over there, clean it up. If any new plants need to be planted, we can do those. Just a quick, good service opportunity for them.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So I know the last time we spoke, we talked about and the general layout and the symbols and everything is on your page 1 with the pictures. Is this exactly what you would like us to approve, or?
Something very similar to that. Obviously, changes can be made to that, but that was like the first draft design that I had in mind.
Okay, perfect. I think that your intention here is really wonderful, and I agree that we can use this space for religious reflection and to, embody the people that do live in our community. So I appreciate your thought and consideration in that. And I will say that there are a lot of youth organizations looking for service projects. So not just your troop, but I'm sure there's lots of other organizations that their youth could use, service hours to help maintain it as well. So
yeah.
Something for the council to consider is not just Troop 1882, you said?
Yes, 1882.
It can also be a greater opportunity for the rest of our community. So thank you.
No one else? No? All right. Are we looking for direction? When are we,
After speaking with Colin, I think what our next step we would want from the town council is the directive that he can proceed forward and that the town is accepting of the location and the project as the benefactor. And if that is the next step, then I can go forward with the proper signatures and everything that he needs
okay.
as the town representative.
And are we able to move forward with that at this time? Collectively?
No exception.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
I have to abstain.
Clearly. So with an abstaining and with everybody here, are we able to, with whom we have, we can move forward?
Do you
Okay.
need like a roll call vote or anything or?
No.
Okay,
So
cool.
we can just
You can give a
direct,
directive.
okay.
Mhm.
So clearly we can give a directive to move forward with this project. I'm very excited about it.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Good luck.
Perfect.
Can you pass
All
on
right.
the stuff for your hands?
Oh, yes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so next we have our quarterly update from Prince William County Board of Supervisor, Bob Weir.
Is somebody going
Bob.
to issue a directive first to formalize it?
Sure. With.
Nothing, I'll talk to you guys later.
I was just gonna say, I'm so sorry.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Chair, yeah, they were getting used to that.
Well,
Madam
she
Vice
is.
Mayor, members of the council, everybody else in the room, Bob Weir, for better or for worse, your Gainesville supervisor, with your quarterly update. It's been some busy couple of months in the county, to be honest with you. Not a whole lot of it involves the town directly, but a lot of it involves the town indirectly. I'll start off with the hot button issue for everybody, countywide, data centers. There are quite a number of cases coming up, both by right and ones requiring both SUPs and rezoning applications. As I'm sure Councilman Schneider can tell you, the trend is towards more density, higher elevations, bubble plans, and no commitments. That kind of stuff doesn't wash with me. A lot of this is spec development with no end user, or at least that's what they're telling us until they get an approval and then they immediately sell. To that extent, or to that end, I have an ask of the town, and that's for a little bit more input on the land use cases affecting the area. There is a particular data centers right behind the ones currently under construction on 55 and Kidharpin, over on the other side of the railroad tracks. And I would appreciate some input from the town on those particular ones, because with each application come a number of other impacts, principally with respect to power. As it stands right now, because of what's already been approved, what's already under construction, the county just approved public facility reviews for 3 brand new substations right there on that parcel at the northeast corner of 55 and Kidharpin. 2 of the substations will power in their entirety the facility under construction at on that particular parcel. The other data center or the other substation will power the one across the street. Because there are 3 other substations tied into the line that is supplying, the brand new line that is supplying power to the 2 for the NTT complex, there will be no power left for anything new. As a result, any new data centers, Gardner, for example, that get approved will require a new transmission line from an unknown source and in an unknown direction. I have had more meetings with Dominion than I care to think about. And in a meeting week and a half ago, when we confronted them with what they had ascribed was going to happen, what the routes were going to be, how things were going to be handled and powered, they said, well, you know, that's what we told you a year ago. Things change. We're going to build new stuff someplace else. In other words, we have no credibility with respect to what we're telling you today because it'll change tomorrow. Quite a few issues that creates. There is a provision in the state code right now that does not allow, at least temporarily, a line to come in from the west to service that area, at least one that parallels or crosses the existing Haymarket line. But that has a sunset clause on it, and it's coming up pretty quickly. So we're going to have to be very well aware of what's coming down the road. Similarly, there are a lot of new residential units being proposed in the immediate Haymarket area. And I mean a lot of them. My office has done what we can to reduce the density. But again, similar to the data center complexes, they're taking advantage of an inordinate focus on affordable housing and getting density by any means possible and as much density as they can. We'll see. One of the problems that I face is the county's build-out numbers. The county's build-out totals do not include units in the town, and particularly new units. So I need somebody in the town to make the planning office aware of how many units we're adding, how many units have been recently built, how many total units we have, so that they can be added to the forecasts so that they factor into what, I'm sure Marshawn is familiar with this, COG projections, what our designated percentage is. Sore topic with me, I'm not going to get into it, but I would appreciate a little bit more input to the county on that. Similarly, pedestrian improvements, we've got quite a few of those going on in this particular area. We have finally worked out the deal for the shared use path on Kidharpin to join the town to Heathcote. It will be on this side of the road. It will not be on the other side. I worked with one of the developers to acquire the rights to the one problem parcel that was sort of the fly in the ointment. So the developer will actually be building it, to my understanding, and not the county, so it will happen sooner rather than later. We've got a variety of other crosswalks and road improvements of that nature that we're trying to get through, some on Heathcote, some down by Tyler, although I suspect the one at Tyler is not going to work when the engineering comes back. Last but not least, with respect to transportation, if anybody's not aware or anybody asks, PRTC, as a result of the county not funding them $13 million of additional monies that they wanted, they hit us out of the blue with a $19 million ask. We only gave them $6 million. So as retribution, they decided to change routes and cut routes. Fortunately, most of the routes they cut were routes that weren't operating anyway. It was just a paper expense. But sort of to, I guess, get back at me in some respect, they've changed the routes, pickup times, number of routes and locations from most of the West End commuter routes, PRTC routes from the various commuter lots into the Pentagon City, that sort of thing. So they've posted the route changes. So if anybody complains, they need to go to PRTC and pick up the new locations. The routes haven't gone away. They've just changed time, number, and pickup location. Parks. Long Park should have its brand new baseball lights in that are now 25 years overdue. They should have them up by November. My office found about $1 million in neglected proffers that were tied to Long Park. We have scheduled that money, and they are in the process of putting those up. Anybody drives up there, you're going to see that the road improvement and the parking improvements are now underway. Should be completed again, probably not by November. That was a project that my office took away from Parks and gave to Transportation. They're delivering it about 6 months to a year faster than Parks would have. I have a request from the chief executive, in case he hasn't reached out to the town yet. The CXO for the county would like to meet with the town managers to foster a relationship between the counties and the towns. This came as he sort of got beat about the head and chest because they were willing to talk to Manassas Park, but he was not willing to talk to you. So he was given a directive that he needs to talk to all of the towns in addition to Manassas and Manassas Park. Saves me the trouble of doing it because we weren't there. Otherwise, we would have had to create another liaison board, and we've got enough trouble with a liaison board between the county, Manassas, and Manassas Park. So he's going to handle it directly. But if you have any issues with him, questions, or anything like that, just give me a yell. I do need to raise an issue, and it's a long-standing issue. And those that have been in town for a long time know that I think I predicted this about 20 years ago. We have a permitting and an inspection records problem in town. And I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but when Jim Lowry was the building inspector in the early 2000s, there were issues with permitting. But that's when the town did all of our permitting, we did all of the inspections ourselves, we kept everything in-house. When he retired, got pushed out, was cut off, take your pick of whatever descriptor you want to use, he did not turn the records over to the town. He did not turn the records over to the county. Despite my pleading with the town manager to make sure we got those records, they were never delivered. That is now causing a problem. For buildings with occupancy permits, inspections, construction permits, that sort of thing, from that time period, the county has no records. And since we have passed that responsibility onto the county, it's creating problems. To my understanding, the town's private building inspectors did not adhere strictly to tenets of the state code, building code, or maintenance code. As a result, we have issues where numerous buildings do not have their appropriate certifications on an ongoing basis, particularly for elevators. So I think the town needs to reach out to these buildings and make sure that they have got their certifications in place, or to contact the County Development Services Office to figure out what they need to do. Unfortunately, they're not going to have any records to rely on, because I'm assuming that the occupancy permits were held by Mr. Lowry as well. At least any number of them appear to have been. Since there are no occupancy permits, the county can't trace use. So prepare for some issues as some of the older properties transfer hands, change uses, require new inspections, that sort of thing. I just thought you guys needed to be aware of it ahead of time, because it's probably going to cause a problem sooner rather than later. I know one particular establishment that's already having a hassle with the development services, specifically the building inspection and certification people, because of this lack of recordation. Couple of last things. Public safety. I'll be frank, it's becoming an increasing issue in Western Prince William County. I met with some business owners and what seemed to be half of the police department's administrative leadership last week, along with more people from social services than I care to think. And a lot of angry businesses in the Sudley corridor. For whatever reason you want to ascribe the problem to, and there are those that ascribe it to the police department, there are those that ascribe it to the judges, and there are those that ascribe it to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. Nothing is being done to satisfy the businesses, and to an even greater extent, a number of the residences. This is more of an issue in the Westgate, Sudley corridor area than it is out here, but we are having some creep out into this area. You're going to have to rely on your department, quite frankly, to handle a lot of this, and you may have to step up your game on felony stuff, because I've said this at the dais at the county, so I don't have any problem saying it here. Prince William County is running a catch and release program. I have people, when the other day, the shooting at Manassas, the Manassas Mall. Guy had just been let out of jail on his own recognizance for a similar incident 2 weeks before. something to be aware of. I don't know how much I can help you. I literally had a bombshell dropped on me last week by the police department. We're talking to the rest of the businesses on the Sudley corridor. They're complaining about a lack of enforcement. They're complaining about a lack of presence. And then we find out there are only 4 officers assigned to the Sudley corridor at any one time. And then we find out that they transferred most of those to the east end for an extended period to deal with the exact same problem on the east end, leaving us with even less coverage here on the west. And that coverage will have impacts where we're at. So if you want to complain, please complain to the rest of the board. Supervisors Vega, Gordy, and myself are all over this, but we're not getting much traction. Then the last thing before I open this up to any sort of questions you got is the opportunity for me to say my favorite 4 words. I told you so. Unfortunately, the town attorney to whom I would address that is no longer employed by the town. I do need to make you aware of a couple of things, though. And I trust Olon to do this, and I trust VML is sending you stuff. I just need to make sure that I bring this up. There have been a number of legislative changes in court cases over the recent months that do impact the town. One of the things is a notice requirement. They've changed it slightly. It's eliminated an issue that was an issue for the county. I doubt it was an issue for the town. Nonetheless, you might want to go back and look at your notice requirements. To some degree, they have loosened it up, and then to some degree, they've tightened it up. But if VML hasn't sent you a primer on it, I would suggest you contact them to make sure what's going on with that. Similarly, there is an ongoing debate amongst a variety of jurisdictional attorneys on how to deal with a particular problem. And that particular problem is panhandling. We've seen it here in town. It's not the panhandling by somebody that's actually indigent or homeless. It's what I like to refer to as professional panhandling, where they show up in an Escalade or a Winnebago. There may or may not be elements of human trafficking to it, but the long and the short of it is many of the places they're choosing to do this or conduct this are in places that, quite frankly, just aren't safe. There is a definition of a median strip that acts as a pedestrian refuge. It's got to be a minimum of 4 feet across. Recent court holdings are that you can't do anything about panhandling in those particular areas because it would abridge their First Amendment rights. However, if it's not a safe refuge for the pedestrian in crossing the street, there's no First Amendment rights to it. My understanding, it becomes a traffic safety issue, not a right to assemble issue, or not a public place issue. So you guys might want to look into that. And then what I just referenced, the Virginia Circuit Court of Appeals smacked a certain sister town just to the south with a certain former attorney for a decision that they made with respect to who FOIA exemptions apply to with working papers. And I will reiterate, or I will encapsulate what they said. You can choose the town manager or you can choose the mayor, but you can't choose both. One last note with respect to recent cases. There have been several issues in Fairfax County and a couple of other towns, and it revolves around virtual meetings or virtual participation in meetings. When the county put together their virtual policy for attendance and such, apart from emergency meetings where there is a provision within the statute to have a fully virtual meeting, you must have a quorum present. Several jurisdictions have run afoul of that and had to redo things. Fortunately, in Prince William, we mandated a physical quorum, and we'll cancel a meeting before we have one that doesn't ascribe to those particular requirements. Just a note in passing to be careful, because a lot of people are watching this kind of thing. In my personal view, the judicial landscape has changed. The courts have changed. Whereas they used to give deference to jurisdictions, they no longer do. They are looking to the letter of the statute and not leaving much room for interpretation by the jurisdictions. Just a word of caution. And with that, I'll take any questions you've got, or I can just go home.
So on the transportation, I missed if you said earlier, so Cat Harpin and Old Carolina.
Yeah.
Looks like they're getting ready to widen that, so they're redoing the whole intersection there, correct?
No.
Okay. Because they look like they're getting ready to put new
There was a
lights
plan
in.
to widen the road. How that is going to be impacted by the pedestrian trail, I don't know. It would have to come from the east side easements. But as I understand it, there is no current funding for widening of Old Carolina from Heathcote to the town. And quite frankly, it doesn't make sense since you're going to bottleneck at a 2-lane road at the bridge.
I mean, so coming from Gainesville into town, there's that long line that gets stuck at Cat Harpin,
Yeah.
going right over to the Harris Teeter. They seem to be doing a lot of widening out there right now. They're
Stuck in
Are
55.
you talking Kidharpin, not
Yeah.
Old
I'm sorry,
Carolina?
not Old Carolina. I'm
Okay.
sorry, 55.
Yes, Kidharpin, the intersection is being improved and there will be some widening.
Okay.
There will be a turn lane
Ugh.
eastbound. There'll be a dedicated turn lane that's going to start roughly at the cemetery. A little past it, because that's where the first
Okay.
entrance to the data center is. That data, you can already see where they've done the utility relocation with the new power poles. My understanding is that will be done before a lot of the landscaping and stuff. There's a priority on that to get that particular improvement finished, and then a new light, and then the Kidharpin itself will be widened at least into the bridge, because they're going to have a dedicated turn lane into the data center for their traffic, because they're expecting trucks for some stupid reason. I'm not quite sure why. But in terms of widening the rest of Kidharpin, again, south of Heathcote, you run into the same problem that you've got with Old Carolina. You've got a 2-lane bridge. So it doesn't make sense to make it 4 lanes on both sides of the bridge and then have a choke point.
I was thinking more of 55 would seem to be more the priority, doing some better through
That is
lanes
the
rather than-
priority. It has already been designed. It's already been approved by VDOT. The construction, the preliminary construction's already started. I think they've already moved the utilities. They're waiting for some other utilities to move. There's an issue with a duct bank on the other side that Dominion's constructing right now. But the land is being cleared. I can double check with NTT because they're actually doing it as a proper condition. So I can get some updated data from them. But my understanding was they were hopeful it would be done before the end of the year.
And then going back to what I also meant to ask a question about Old Carolina and Heathcote, the sidewalk from the bridge to Heathcote on the left side, you're saying, is going out of town. Okay.
Left side as you're going out.
And is that, I know your predecessor had some monies dedicated to that. Is that still happening or, okay.
Or is that part of the development?
We extracted a proffer out of somebody to build it.
I'm sorry, I meant the trail. Is the trail connecting that seems to be the biggest
shared
missing
use
link is
path,
from the
yeah,
bridge to
We've
the,
extracted a proffer
okay.
from the one that's developing the property between, or on both sides of Heathcote between Old Carolina and Route 15. Because they've acquired all the other properties on Old Carolina. The one that was always the issue was, I believe it's the house next to what used to be the real estate office, had a very, very limited easement, and the county for some reason didn't want to condemn that one parcel. In any event, it's been purchased by the developer. It's incorporated into their development plan, and now we can run the path down that side, which eliminates the mid-road crossing at the bridge. So you're not going to go up, come down one side, then have to cross the road to go over the bridge. So that's been eliminated.
Thank you. And the last thing was, when I moved to Green Hill 2 years ago and went to get paperwork at the county, they had no paperwork that the house had even been built, but they've been taxing that building for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I was able to find most of the occupancy permits in the town records. But that's just going to be a paperwork nightmare to get.
It's going to be a paperwork nightmare, not so much for the residential uses, because you can prove the tax payments more or less.
Okay.
What becomes an issue is occupancy for the businesses, particularly when you've got a change in use. what's a grandfathered use, what's not a grandfathered use, what permitting is required, whether they're, you know, I think the ones you're going to run into the biggest problem with are anything that involves food preparation or anybody that's got an elevator. I have not approached a couple of the buildings in town that I know have elevators, but I probably should, and I'll probably take some time. I've got some time this week, and we'll just kind of make a trip through town and figure out who's got what, where, and when. But this started to be a problem about 18 months ago, and it's slowly growing over time. I guess we become a focus now. They sort of, I guess, permitting and inspection kind of ignored us for a while because we had done it ourselves for so long. But now as renovations happen, new construction happens, they're coming in and looking for the paperwork that doesn't exist. And how we're going to get past that collectively, I don't know. Perhaps it's possible to reach out to whomever retained Mr. Lowry's records, that if that happened. My suspicion is they went into the shredder.
Sounds like a business.
But that would be something to look into.
Gotcha. Thanks,
I
Mike.
feel like staff
I-
might have something to say.
Yes, I would just like to say in the years since we switched over in 2018, we do not have occupancy permits for all of them, unfortunately. When we issue a zoning approval, we check our land files and anything that we have that can get them in the door faster down there at the county, we do give them. It is on the onus of the property owner to ensure that those documents are also displayed properly, and a lot of times they are not, and that's what we're finding. I do know of reference of one building who is going through the elevator inspection currently, and we did not have record of their occupancy permit. There's no reason we shouldn't have it. We should, but it's not there. So one of the things we've been working with them on is sending them through the Joe program down at the county. And I know that's cumbersome on the tenant or the business usually, but we do try to encourage them to talk to their landlord if they're a tenant, or that they go through this process and get current with the occupancy permit and any other inspections that they might be needing based on any renovations they're doing, new tenant build out, et cetera. We typically have a pretty good working relationship with the county, but if you could give me the point of contact, is it still Miss Eric?
Unfortunately, there is not going to be a singular point of contact other than perhaps Wade Hugh, because they're just not organized that way.
Okay.
You might try Mandy Spina first, since she's now the head of development services. My office has a very good relationship with Mandy, not so much with the building inspectors. But if you have any problems, just give us a yell. I have a chief of staff who's particularly adept at solving such problems,
Yeah, so
generally with a flamethrower.
we'll reach out to get Mandy's contact information and set up a meeting so that we can give better information to our businesses who come in looking for those documents.
She's revamping the entire agency since she took
Okay.
over 6 months ago, I think.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Yes, Mary.
No,
Come on, I'm your favorite.
no.
Can you update us on the bridge on Jefferson going towards Somerset?
No bridge.
The county does not plan to improve it and make it safe so that emergency vehicles can go over it?
Unfortunately, it's not a county issue, it's a VDOT issue.
Oh.
And I won't say no entirely. It is an issue. We've been trying to work with VDOT. We've been trying to work with county transportation. If it were a normal section of road, I think we would have much more success or likelihood of success. But given that it crosses the wetlands and it crosses the creek and the costs are exorbitant to replace the bridge, and then there will be some ancillary costs along with it. Because the minute they start to do that, then somebody's going to demand the pedestrian connection, which should have been there in the first place. And then Norfolk Southern, because you got to deal with the improvements to the railroad crossing. And Joe knows what a pain in the ass that is. We're working on it. I wouldn't expect anything to happen in the near future. VDOT, no, they give the same excuse they give for everything. Too many projects, not enough money. It is possible that we could make it a county problem, but within the county's transportation CIP, there really isn't much funding for it, at least not right now. There is the possibility that a significant amount of money will become available in the relatively near future if the Route 28 bypass plan is finally 86th. The ball's sort of on Fairfax County's racket right now. They've already said no. For some reason, we've kept it on artificial respiration. To my view, far too long. If that gets removed from the CIP, that does free up something like $25 million. We'll see what happens. I'm sure everybody's going to make a grab for it. But that money was earmarked for projects that span the Brentsville, Gainesville, and Coles district. So as far as I'm concerned, it's mine.
Well, I'd appreciate it.
So we'll see what happens.
All right, thank you.
Any questions from the town attorney? Or are you just gonna?
I might have a question or two. Or should I wait till?
Go ahead.
No.
I got nothing but time.
So I heard you earlier say about the 3 substations. Now we're talking about the Lerner property. Is that where that's going?
The 3 substations are all on what's currently the NTT property. They'll form an elbow around the existing transfer station where it goes from underground to overhead.
Right.
The one that you can see from I-66.
Right.
One will be right next to it, paralleling I-66. The other will be perpendicular to I-66, again, next to that substation, right next to each other. I am not happy with the manner in which this has happened. There are a lot of assertions out there by a variety of different entities. Dominion has, by and large, said, believe us today, but what we tell you today may not be the case tomorrow. That's not entirely news. I mean, it's happened in the past. I have a greater issue, and I think the residents, and quite frankly, the ratepayers across the Commonwealth should have a bigger issue with Dominion when it comes to this. Because I'm on the county board appointed me to a VACO committee, energy, conservation, and something else. Mostly because I didn't want to do it and they didn't want to do it, so they appointed me to do it. I didn't go to the first meeting, so as usually happens when you don't go to the first meeting of a VACO committee, you get appointed to the steering committee. I'll know better next year. As part of the steering committee, I then had to be part of a review committee of Dominion's IRP plan, the resources plan, 5-year resources plan, mandated by the legislature. What concerns me is that in developing their IRP, one would think that the first thing that you would look at is what your load demand is and what your generation capacity is and where that generation capacity is going to come from. That is not the case. They chose to focus on a variety of other things, including social justice and how power lines impact certain areas. And then he decided to forego handling the load demand, gross demand, generation capacity until the very last meeting. And for once, Prince William County and Loudoun County were on the same page, or at least I and my counterpart from Loudoun County were on the same page. Dominion Power has grossly underestimated what its demand is going to be in the next 5 to 10 year window. And when we're talking grossly underestimated, we're talking about several orders of magnitude. They have not planned for the gigawatts of energy that will be required to service both Prince William and Loudoun, just those two jurisdictions alone, not to mention what's going on in other Northern Virginia districts or other Northern Virginia jurisdictions. They will be several gigawatts short. Last figure I saw was something close to equaling the output of 3 North Anna power stations. We're that woefully short. There is no transmission infrastructure to get that power here. It's sort of a double-edged sword. The infrastructure will have to be built. It will have impacts on areas like Haymarket, towns like Haymarket. But it will also preclude anything from getting powered up. I don't know about Loudoun, but we have letters from approved data centers, for example, that have told us they cannot get power for 5 years. One of the other things that is particularly concerning to me, not only for the county, but as a resident of the town, is the status of one of their major mandated projects. I'm sure Marshawn's familiar with the Wishing Star to Morrisville route, which is the 500 kV line that you see running across I-66 that ties Loudoun all the way down to, I think it's Orange County. That is the subject of a mandated, and by mandated, I mean by the regional utility company, PJM, what they call a wreck and rebuild. Unfortunately, Dominion has come to the realization that in doing a wreck and rebuild on that line for a variety of issues, some of which include easements that they can't condemn or expand, it is unlikely that they can accommodate that wreck and rebuild without the certitude of lengthy brownouts, more likely lengthy brownouts, or excuse me, blackouts, and a variety of other circumstances. I won't bore you with the details of things like N-1/1 violations of the FERC standards, but there's a possibility that they could essentially trigger a cascading blackout if certain theoretical circumstances were met. It's a mess. How they're ultimately going to handle it, I don't know. But I would suggest that if Prince William County, Loudoun County, Stafford, take your pick, continue to approve these facilities at the rate that they're approving them, it is a game where Dominion will never catch up. They don't care because they're passing the capital costs on to the ratepayer. But it will inevitably lead to, quite frankly, a spider web of transmission lines across this area. There's just no getting around it. Where we go from here, I don't know. I mean, will the need dry up as technology advances and data centers potentially become obsolete and white elephants? Maybe. It's hard to project that far into the future. But I've got some serious concerns about where they're going and where we're going.
Okay. There's a lot of risk there, and that should be a big concern for everybody. Energy, what have you, the risk of blackouts, the risk of not being able to provide the power. I noticed that the construction site, there's a massive set of diesel generators.
Mhm.
And they will, I guess the intent is that they will power up these data centers if there's a loss of power or interruption for
That's
whatever
the
reason.
purpose. And they have to, if I recall correctly, they have to do a test on them at least once a month, if not more.
Okay, that was going to be my question, because I worked around diesel locomotives my entire career and some standby generators, uninterruptible power supplies, UPSs. And we would, very stringent requirements for that. And I'm just wondering, how do we ensure that that happens?
That's the problem. If you've got an extended blackout, they are allowed by code to run those generators 24/7 until the grid is restored. That will create a noise issue. That will create a pollution issue. I'm not the green guy, so, you know, I don't want to delve too far into that. But the problem is generators like that, and I'm sure you see this with diesel locomotives, are not designed to run 24/7. They create their own heat issues. There's a fuel issue with it. If you were talking 1 or 2 or 3 diesel generators per site, I don't think the fuel issue would be a significant one. But I've got complexes down the road with 160. And how do you maintain a fuel supply on an ongoing basis for 160 diesel generators burning at what, 10 gallons an hour? Just a guesstimate. Some of them are now including fuel tanks on site. What happens if there's an extended blackout? Are they going to be running an endless supply of, you know, fuel oil trucks there? I don't think there's enough to supply the demand. What's going to happen? I don't think anybody's really thought it out. I'm looking at this, you know, 5 to 10 years down the road, and everybody else is looking at next Tuesday.
Right. Well, I'll be looking forward to sitting down with you on Friday a little bit, and we can talk about it some more, because I don't want to belabor the issue, but we've got some real concerns about that. At least I do. And we need to.
I share your concerns. Dominion is taking a rather myopic view of it. And I think my personal impression is they're engaging in a little bit of having their cake and eating it too. You know, they're putting up, they're buying more wind farm leases offshore, passing that cost on to the ratepayer. In my view, paying lip service to the Clean Virginia Act. I mean, I'm not a big believer in it, but, you know, at the same time they're doing that, then they're importing fossil fuel power from out of state. We're almost in a no-win situation.
Thank you, Bob.
I was going to say, I feel like there's like 1,000 questions that could be asked. Can you please remind us how our constituents can get a hold of you to ask those questions and to bend your ear?
I'll leave you a card because I don't even know the office phone number. I never call. It's like my home phone number. I never call it. So
I know, it's fine.
I have to
It's
look
fine.
it up.
But also to make certain that everybody knows that you can ask the questions and Bob will actually answer.
The other thing is I'm a little bit different than the other supervisors. My office is open from 8 to 5 every day, and I'm actually there.
Yep. Yep.
For a variety of reasons. But we have an open door policy. You don't need an appointment. It's better if you get one because you don't want to irritate my chief of staff, but we do have walk-ins every day for any variety of issues. Some of them real, some of them
No.
not so real.
We appreciate that. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
But if you guys need anything, just give me a yell.
Thank you
All right.
very much.
Thanks, Bob.
And I'll go leave this with the chief because I need to talk to him about something else anyway.
Thank you.
All right.
Super. Very good. All right. So we're going to move on to citizens' time. Is there anyone wishing to address the town council at this time? No? Okay. All right. So we are going to move on to the consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull anything off of the consent agenda? Yes.
Town administration report, please.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to pull the PD report.
Okay. All right. Would anybody like to motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Okay, Madam Vice Mayor,
Please.
I move the Haymarket Town Council adopt consent agenda items A1 and 2, B2, 4, and 5, and C1 through 5.
All right. Do I have?
Second.
Okay, perfect. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. The motion is carried. All right. You want to discuss?
Admin?
Sure, I'll just. Quick question just regarding, well, it seems hot topic of the day is our new trash collection. Just wanted to kind of bring to light, maybe ask you, there are a few residents in Green Hill Crossing who came forward today and said that their garbage cans have still not, from the old company, have not been picked up. And were inquiring and asking me what they can do in order to get them picked up. At least one of them said that they've contacted the town hall and we said we'd get back to them, but they said nobody has gotten back to them yet.
If you could have them either in an email directly to myself or, no, send it directly to me. If you could have them give us their address, please, that would be great.
Absolutely.
And then a good phone number to call them back at. And we will contact them directly and coordinate that pickup. Unfortunately, what we're having to do, so everyone's aware, is we're having to send out our maintenance employee, Matt, to pick the cans up himself. And then we're kind of corralling them at the back of town hall. If we get a certain number of them, we then have Republic come pick them up. But if there's just a few, we might utilize them for events.
And then just the second thing associated with that is maybe just to raise this, because I've heard it almost every Monday in a row, is that they are not picking up any of the yard waste. And when you kind of go around the community, it's for some people they are, and for some people they aren't. It's kind of a little bit unique. So if you could just bring that issue up to them, that would be helpful. I know I see that at least in Green Hill Crossing, and I suspect in other communities as well.
Okay.
These are in the
Thank
paper
you.
bags, man.
Whether they're in paper bags, whether they're in a can that's labeled as such,
Oh, okay.
et cetera. I've seen it myself.
Right, and then Joe.
PD report.
Mhm.
All right, anybody have questions on the admin? No? Okay. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
How are you?
Councilman. How are you doing?
All right, very good, sir. I wanted to give you a chance to speak a little bit about this, but first, I have a question for you on the data.
Sure, let's go.
Packet page 26 and 27. Is it me or am I missing something there?
Wait a minute. I don't have the packet. I actually have the report up. Let me borrow Roberto's here if you don't mind.
Yeah, the,
Page 26. 26. So you are looking at backup support, calls for service,
calls for service.
outside agency time spent.
Are we missing any data there? Or is it me?
No, it's right at the top. Right at the top is the breakdown data. And then you have the graph tracking data.
Ah, okay.
So if you look at the top, it's a single line, so it's easily missed, and it just looks like a bunch of graphs. But if you look at the top, you'll see the actual for that, and then you can use the graphs to track the data. Depending on when we started tracking that data, how far back, it might be as much as 2 years, it might be as much as just a couple of months.
Okay, super.
Okay.
Page 28. Is it fair to say that as far as traffic issues, that speeding continues to be problematic?
Yeah, speeding continues to be our biggest issue.
So any thoughts on how we can attack that a little bit better?
Yes, the first thing that we thought of, and we'd already planned on this, was moving that traffic sign on the west side of town, which catches eastbound traffic, moving it further out, better location, more visibility, and a quicker reminder. And it's been very impactful, even though we've only had it up a week. It's actually monitoring. When we're monitoring it, you really see the brake lights starting to hit, that flickering light. You know, this is much newer technology than the light that we did have, which was, by my calculations, roughly 13 years old. So the little blinky light, not my technical term, blinky, is really catching people's attention. And then the town manager actually seen something else as well, is we were having issues with people breaking into the right lane and jetting past other people. But now they got that reminder, like, oh, yeah, I got to slow down a little bit. I'm actually inside, we'll be inside of the 25-mile limit once I make that turn on to Route 55 or come across. So that has minimized that, which again is good. It reduces not only speed, but it makes it much safer for pedestrian traffic and the drivers that's coming up on the right or the regular lane, not getting overtaken by somebody trying to jet past them and cut a few seconds off of their commute. So that's step one. Step two, obviously, our primary duty is to keep this a pedestrian-friendly town. We obviously do not write tickets for the purpose of generating revenue, as to opposed to what some people see. Our goal is to educate and then charge accordingly when we need to. So we've been working on the town manager, myself, been working with VDOT and other people trying to figure out a good visibility, increasing visibility on the crosswalks themselves, to kind of remind people to slow down when they get to the crosswalks, rather than, I don't see anybody, I'm just going to keep jetting, but still make it a pedestrian friendly town. And knock on wood, we haven't really had any issues. We want to keep it like that. But speeding, those are the couple of things that we've seen, and we will be changing the light down here on this side of town. Although that it's in a very good spot for visibility, it is still antiquated technology, and it doesn't have that, blinky. So we really want to get that in. These new signs as well track a lot more data than the old signs do. A lot of very good data points that council can use in any decision making that they have, and to help us in our hours of enforcement and time of enforcement, not just for flow, but when we see the speeders, actually when we're going to get the higher speed ratios through there. But again, the officers continue to try to be visible, which not only deters crime, which is one of our primary things, but also prevents people from speeding when they see lights or they see that patrol car. It slows people down accordingly anyway. So those are a few of the things that we looked at, along with the increased visibility, and of course with having 2 new people coming on board, that helps. Item 3 is the message board. Well, for the lack of better terms, that's what I call it: message board, speed board, also equipped with Flock that we talked about during the work session. We're moving forward with the purchasing of that. Since council had granted us to do that, we are able to move that sign anywhere that we want to, and we're not beholden to VDOT laws about where we can put speed signs and what the speed signs have to look like and how big they have to be and what color they have to be. We can put that sign where we want to, where we're having issues. And we know that we're having issues here on Jefferson before we come up to Cheyenne. We know that we also are having issues on South Fayette, going down towards Payne, and on back around to Jefferson as well, which that is, both of them are very concerning areas. You have a large pedestrian area coming up here out of Long Street Commons, but down here you also have 2 private areas where you got pickups and drop-offs and school-age children coming around. So we think those are very beneficial. And of course, a lot of the times the people that are speeding going on South of Fayette are just trying to circumvent traffic. Right. So that's that reminder again that, hey, there's something there. There's people. Now it's not just the fact that the police can see how fast you're going. Everybody around you can see how fast you're going. And people that take that turn to go down that way are in a hurry anyway, because they've already been waiting in traffic. So they're more inclined to, when they make that right turn, really get in the gas and speed through an area that they really shouldn't be. So those are just a few of the things that we're doing to deter the speeding issues that we've had, and to keep Haymarket a pedestrian-friendly town.
All right, that's super. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I noticed a couple of things here. That we have Les Taylor. We talked about it at the work session. So he's now full-time.
Yes, he's now full-time.
So congratulations to him.
Yep. Brings 20 years of law enforcement experience, previous re-elected sheriff, and brings a lot of experience to the town, and is very, very good that we have been able to get him in a full-time position.
Excellent. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about that Town Comfort Station project, and because I noticed it was in your report, and you and the town manager have been speaking with folks at the county side.
Correct. We've already had a meeting with Chief Smolsky and Brad Misner from Emergency Planning. I have a meeting set up for the 8th of this week. Forget what time. Call it 1 o'clock. I'm not really sure, but I do have a meeting set up for the 8th of this week to speak to Chief Hendricks and get him on board, make sure that we're good there. And then I'll follow up with a report to the town manager on our meeting that we have, and see what we can do moving forward. And I think last time, I think when we went through this, it was just the procurement side that was a little, giving us a little heartburn. But I think we can work our way through that this time, and make this happen, be able to have a comfort station here, and provide that service to the community.
So I guess it's okay to say cautiously optimistic.
I would stay cautiously optimistic. I think once I talk to Chief Heinrich, and of course, very good guy, I'm not expecting any real pushback there. And considering that there will still be plenty of funds left after that project, for the fire department to do other projects with or look at other equipment needs. So it's, it's not like they're just throwing all the money into this basket.
Right.
So.
Right, great. That would be a great benefit for the.
It would be a huge benefit, not only to the community, as we have a storm bearing down on us, which I was just emailing, Emily and I have been emailing back and forth about the potential outcome of that. And there'll be another briefing tomorrow that I'll be privy to, and I'll inform her. But right now, we could stand to get on the east side of the Blue Ridge, 3 to 5 inches of rain. So to have that comfort station, and of course, we won't have it for that. But if we do have that, then, if there's a power outage or there's flooding issues in someone's house, they have a place to go to. They can come in, charge their phone, relax, reach out to loved ones, do what they need to do, and move on. So it will be nice down the road, providing it all comes to fruition.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to see that in the works. I have a whole bunch of others, but I'll wait until we talk another time, because I'd like to give you an opportunity to kind of speak a little bit about this.
Roger that. I did throw it on your all's dais tonight. I did get that in June, but I wasn't able to bring it over for the July meeting because I wasn't here and in physical form. It was a little later than I wanted to. I usually like to do that in March, April, but there was some numbers that really wasn't jiving in the UCR side. And I wanted to make sure that all those were correct before I put out a product that had conflicting data on the state side or on our side, depending on how you looked at it. I wanted to make sure everything was in line. So it had been worked on and was pretty much ready for months, but until we got that worked out, we weren't able to produce it and get it out to you all. But feel free to bring it back anytime, talk to me. And if you got any questions about any of the data that's in there, just let me know.
Super. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I'm all set.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
I'm looking at this.
All right. So any more questions, Marshall?
Just tomorrow night, all good to go. I was told Lieutenant Davis I was supposed to help him with the obstacle course and recreate our donut eating contest.
Who won that last year between the two?
It was remarkably hard to eat a donut in the air.
Yeah.
Jake won.
Jake won. Well, I think there should be some redemption for Councilman Snyder tomorrow night, don't you think?
What was that?
I think there should be some redemption.
There'll be a rematch, yes. But
have you been in training this year?
Yes.
Would you like me to go get a dozen donuts to help you tonight? Get ready for tomorrow.
I would appreciate that. Preparations seem to have been going well.
They are
You got
all
all the
good.
volunteers you need?
One little snafu we're working through today, nothing that's earth shattering.
Okay.
But no, we'll be ready for tomorrow night. There'll be plenty of food, plenty of games, plenty of things to do for people to come down and visit with their local police department and town officials and have a great time and get full while they're doing it. 5 to 8 p.m. at the park.
Is there a dunk tank this year?
No, but I've been getting a lot of requests for that. But so I think
That
that
seems
if we
self-serving,
could,
Chief.
if we could get
So-
Marshawn in there next year, maybe.
The chief. That's usually
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Wow.
Thanks,
Wow.
Chief. I appreciate it. That's all I had.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Anything else? No? All right. Can I get a motion to adopt the full consent agenda, please?
Okay, I move that the Haymarket Town Council adopt the remaining consent agenda items B1 and 3.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I would like to close the loop on the Eagle Scout agenda item. May I please place a directive I direct the town manager to proceed working with Colin Gallagher on his proposed Eagle Scout project to construct the Haymarket Town Park Reflection Garden at the proposed location in the northwestern corner of Town Park property. I further direct the town manager to sign off on the project on behalf of the town as the beneficiary.
No objection.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to our agenda items. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the resolution 2024-004. Does staff have anything additional to add?
Given the discussion we had in the work session and the board and commission being okay with the language, I provided a draft motion on packet page 68 for the council's use.
No questions, Vice Mayor, I could initiate the
Yeah,
motion.
please.
Any questions? Okay. I move the town council adopt resolution 2024-004 comprehensive plan amendment altering the definition of a historic resource.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Casanello,
Aye.
Schneider,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Next.
Next on the agenda is the adoption of ordinance 2024-002. Do we have anything additional to add?
As with agenda item 1, the zoning text amendment has been thoroughly discussed by Architectural Review Board and the Planning Commission. It is good to have a staff recommendation to approve it. The recommended language or motion for approval is on packet page 78, 78.
Oh, sorry, catching up.
Vice Mayor, I move the town council adopt ordinance number 2024-002 zoning text amendment, cross-referencing plat requirements within the zoning ordinance.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll
Nope.
call.
Casanello,
Aye.
Schneider,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Thank you. All right, our next agenda item is resolution 2024-005. Anything to add?
No additions to add on that. We're on packet page 81, and there is a resolution to read into the record along with a motion of approval.
This is the snow removal, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Page 81. You want to,
We have, yeah. You need us to read this in.
Yes, I would like for somebody to read the resolution in, please.
I think the new guy.
Because I can do it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Resolution to adopt ordinance number 2024-003, whereas the town of Haymarket Council and staff have received several resident complaints regarding the lack of snow and ice removal along the Washington Street corridor during snow events in early 2024. And whereas the town of Haymarket did not have an ordinance in place for snow removal enforcement. And whereas the town of Haymarket Town Council held several public meetings to draft a snow removal policy and ordinance for the town of Haymarket. And whereas the Haymarket Town Council held a public hearing on July 29th, 2024 for citizen comment on ordinance number 2024-003, adding section 34-6, removal of snow and ice from sidewalks to the town of Haymarket Code. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the council of the town of Haymarket, meeting in regular session this 5th day of August, 2024, adopt ordinance number 2024-003 to amend the town of Haymarket Town Code, adding section 34-6, removal of snow and ice from sidewalks.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Casanello,
Aye.
Schneider,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Gallagher.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, our next agenda item is resolution 2024-005. And
On packet page 84, so this is the resolution from VDOT to add the Cap Valley Way into the secondary route system within the Virginia's road network.
Same deal?
Yes,
Read it in?
please. Yes, please.
I'll read it in. Okay, I move that the Haymarket Town Council adopt resolution number 2025-005, which relates to section 33.2-705 VDOT project additions to secondary route.
We do that 2024-005.
Oh, typo. You want me to redo it or as amended?
As amended.
as amended. Whereas the Virginia Department of Transportation has completed project 0066-076-074 C501, and whereas the project sketch and VDOT Form AM 4.3 attached and incorporated herein as part of this resolution define additions required in the secondary system of state highways as a result of construction, and now therefore be it resolved, certain segments identified on the incorporated Form AM 4.3 are ready to be accepted into the secondary system of state highways, and be it further resolved, this board requests the Virginia Department of Transportation to add the segments identified on the incorporated Form AM 4.3 to the secondary system of state highways pursuant to Section 33.2-705 of the Code of Virginia, for which segments this board hereby guarantees the right-of-way to be clear and unrestricted, including any necessary easements for cuts, fills, and drainage. And be it finally resolved, a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Virginia Department of Transportation.
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Casanello?
Aye.
Schneider?
Yes.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Gallagher?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so the next item is Resolution 2024-006, the budget amendment. Roberto?
Good evening,
Good
council.
evening, council.
Gotta figure out something else to say about that. But yeah, unless there's any questions, this is the amendment to particularly fund for the park sidewalk. I believe we discussed this in the work session, but to bring everyone up to date. Unfortunately, the project wasn't completed or started in FY 2024. So we are now having to move those funds over as they were not spent to complete the project onto the current budget of FY 2025.
Okay. Vice Mayor.
All right, so we're looking at page number 86. correct?
86.
All
I'll
right.
make a motion.
Yes.
I move that the Haymarket Town Council approve an appropriation to the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget as designated by resolution number 2024-006.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I have a roll call, please?
Casanello?
Aye.
Schneider?
Yes.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Gallagher?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so our next item is outdoor events ordinance. Emily, do you have any updates?
No major update. I just wanted to ask if any council members had any feedback that they wanted to go ahead and share this week. Otherwise, as I stated in the email I sent everybody, I would like for comments to be due no later than middle of next week, please. And if you don't have comments, respond that you have no comment next week, please.
Scary, you have to say that.
Vice Mayor, I have a few comments and questions.
Please.
Okay, thank you. For section 15-6, the ingress and egress traffic control and parking, on page 4 of 7. I'm wondering if the town has any definition as to what adequate parking is. Is it listed somewhere else in an
develop-
ordinance, or is that
We would
something?
want it to be defined in this ordinance so that it's something that we can hold them to within this code section.
Perfect. Another question that I had when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Section 15-9, the filing and general contents of application on page 5 of 7. What if there are multiple tenants being affected by an event held in that location? It says together with written permissions from the owner or tenant of such property. I'm just curious if there is a property with a large number of tenants that could be impacted by this event, what, if any, requirements we should pose.
So these are all things that we can modify. The application states tenants though, plural, and we always request all tenants acknowledge. Okay, perfect. I also want, for the record, to go to page 7 of 7. I feel that section 15-17, the exceptions to permit requirement, that the section B be removed. I feel very strongly that every person, every business, every landowner should adhere to the same rules and regulations that we hold ourselves to as a town. And I don't think there should be any exceptions, particularly because I believe that this very, very specific exception was written for a very specific purpose. Okay? Thank you.
Vice Mayor? I just had one question for you, and it actually is also regarding section 15-17B. There's a specific wording that says that it must have an entrance from the public right-of-way which meets the Virginia Department of Transportation standards for a commercial entrance. I'd like to know if, in conjunction with this, where we can find the regulations that for a VDOT standards for what if they would consider a commercial entrance.
We can pull that information.
I think that would be helpful as well.
You can incorporate that by reference, right?
Yeah, can we put that by definition?
That's it. That's all. That was my only question. And I will have my comments by mid next week.
Thank you.
I
We
wasn't.
could incorporate it by reference. It does change sometimes, but it is in their design manual that is put out. I would want to learn more about it on if a VDOT inspector would deem some of our entrances as commercial versus some of ours we get waivers for. Just for example, like the town hall's entrance is not the standard commercial grade entrance. So there can be waivers that are given out as well for certain commercial properties, depending on what site restrictions they're working with. So we would need to look into more how it would be regulated.
Anything else? No? All right. So then we are ready to move to our next agenda item, which is our military banner program. Alexandra, do you have any updates?
I do. You guys had some questions last week, and I have a few answers and then some. I had some discussions with a couple of other places. To answer your question, so the program military tribute banners, the material is an 18-ounce Ultraflex vinyl. That's what she described. She said it's very durable, withstands most weather conditions. She doesn't recommend keeping them up during hurricanes, but it should stand your normal sun and thunderstorms, etc. Lifespan from the program manager, she said colors she can guarantee should last over a year under standard sun and storm conditions. The material lifespan, she said expectancy is 5 years if it's displayed properly. So if you're putting them on the banner arms correctly, if you're not putting them near any branches that are gonna, just keeping in mind where you're displaying them and how you're displaying them. And if you're cleaning them manually, she said that helps as well. And there was a premium price and a standard. And currently we have the ones that we've been displaying for the last few years are their standard vinyl. And she said for the extra $10, it doubles the guarantee. So their guarantee was a 6-month guarantee. If you remember from the memo, it would double to 1 year. So that's good. And then it offers a smoother finish and 25% stronger. So I think for $10 extra, that's probably a good investment. And getting started, we tell them how we want the program set up. They'll take the guidelines on how we want to run our program, and they'll kind of create a program page and a go live button so that applicants can go to our website and click it, and it'll take them. And have their orders, submitted, and we'll be copied on everything. They say typically the applicants approve the banner itself, make sure the information is correct in the photo. So I wouldn't necessarily have to do that, but I could be CC'd on it or whomever. And I spoke to Old Manassas that uses the military tribute banners, and Stevens City. Stevens City is going into their third year. They display it from Memorial Day to Veterans Day, so 6 months. Their guidelines, they just want to have some sort of connection to Stevens City, where if it's the resident themselves, or if you have a parent maybe that used to be a resident. So as long as there's some sort of tie to Stevens City. She said so far they've held up really well. They've only had to replace one in 2 years, and that was a bracket issue that tore it. She said the colors still look good. They have a 2-year period, and she's kept it open because they haven't filled all of their polls, so they're going to keep it open for a 3rd year right now. So she said so far it's been a good process dealing with the program manager, and they charge $200. And Manassas is run by their VFW. And I noticed some others, like I think Winchester, their VFW posts are connected and run the program. Manassas only does it for deceased veterans, and they only display it for Memorial Day, so in May. So they leave it up for about 3 weeks. And he said so far he's, the last 4 or 5 years, he hasn't had any trouble. They pay the cost. So I think they accept donations, but they cover the cost entirely themselves, and have volunteers that, hang them and everything like that. So and then I have info from Hometown Heroes, which is a second company. You want me to answer your question about one of those now?
Sorry, I was just going to ask the other municipalities that offer this similar program, did they utilize the same program that we've used, or are they using a different one?
Yes. So these two are currently using, that I spoke to on the phone, are going through military tribute banners. And Winchester does it. Occoquan, they didn't have any contact for Occoquan because their program is full, so I didn't get to reach out to them. But there are other places that use it, and I've seen their information. Some charge just the cost. Some charge about $200 or $250 to cover the cost of hanging them and things like that. So the cost varies a little bit. I think it's just what you guys decide. And then Hometown Heroes is another company that offers this kind of program. And the guy was very nice. He's a vet himself. The cost of those banners are roughly about the same. The banner itself is a little bit more. I think it's $100. Shipping's about $5-10. They, however, do not keep track of applicants or contacts. So they rely on town staff to keep a chart and to take in all of the digital files and to send it to them. They are just order the banners. So it would require a little bit more legwork on us to keep track of everything and everyone. Their guarantee is just a manufacturer guarantee, a 2-year manufacturer guarantee on defects. So if a pocket rips or something is misspelled or faded, they will cover that. But if some weather damage or if it's stolen, they do not cover that. So and they have people who have been on the coast with lots of weather, and some have held up to 6 years. So there's so far seem to also have a good lifespan, but I would be concerned maybe that their guarantee doesn't seem as great, and that I would prefer the other one because you're working with somebody, and so that's my newest update. Yeah.
And they're keeping track of the information as well. Okay.
Yes, we're provided a login and we can go in and see everybody. And like I say, they'll receive the information from the applicant, and we'll get CC'd and we'll be able to see it. But It's,
And to the Manassas, they said the VFW, they put them up, they bear all the costs of putting them
Mhm.
up.
yes.
And then any other costs that the town would bear beyond that? Did we talked about having the town step in to replace certain banners? Was there any?
Stephen
on-
City said that they replace outside of the guarantee period. So, and then she said they've only had to replace one so far. They're in their 2 years, but she said that they bear that cost. And Manassas, they just, I think, operate on donations, so they fully fund the cost of the banners, but, yeah.
Did they talk about a 2-year, we were talking about maybe every 2 years reestablishing, I guess, membership in the program. Are they
There
far enough along? Are they doing anything similar?
was, Manassas didn't really go into detail about that. I think that, and they did go into detail. They offer it not just to Manassas, but surrounding areas, so Haymarket, Gainesville. So it sounded like they had enough polls to fulfill, and they only do deceased veterans, so
Oh, that's
not,
right.
yeah, so, theirs are a little bit different. But Stephen City, they're still on the newer end of their program, and she said all of their spots haven't been filled, so they are doing a 2-year application period, but she said since not all of their polls are filled up, they're just gonna contact those applicants and extend it to year 3 until, they get more interest, so.
Thank you. That's all I
Yeah.
have.
Anyone else?
No, that, very thorough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Do we need a directive in regards to moving forward with that program?
No, Alex will be bringing more information back to the work session to
Okay.
really flesh out the application program details and how people will be accepted.
Okay. All right. No, you're fine. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so we will move on to council member time.
Is it that time already?
It is that time. All right, so council member PNA is not here, so we will start with,
I'm not ready.
oh.
I had some notes somewhere.
Member Pascal.
Too.
What is
Oh,
that
wow.
Jeopardy timer right here? No, I'm teasing. I'm
Well,
teasing.
first of all, nice to have an audience at our meeting. And since you stayed to the end, I think you should get a star next to that merit badge.
Yay.
That's my opinion. I don't know if that happens, but thank you, Scouts. Appreciate it. Thank you, staff. And I have to say, it's always a pleasure to have Bob here. Supervisor Weir, at least we're getting some information from the county on a regular basis or quarterly. And I think that's just wonderful. So, and see everybody tomorrow night at National Night Out. I think it's going to be a hot one, both weather and event wise. Thank you.
All right.
I'm good.
Thank you, Councilman Snyder.
Nothing this evening. Thanks.
Finding me to walk out.
All right. Yes.
Thank you. Chief, I bet you were hoping or wishing for that dunk tank now. Well, in the spirit of the police department, I want to officially welcome Officer Taylor to the team. I'm excited. After hearing some of the hardships that our county is encountering with public safety, adding on additional officers to our department is definitely a good idea. And thank you for bringing that to council and vetting that out with us. I would like to draw attention that the Crossroads Art Alliance, they're having a call for art until September 14th. Their theme is Everyone's Hometown, which is our slogan, which I love, love, love. So if you are interested in having your art displayed in the museum, CAA is accepting applications through their website, which is crossroadartalliance.org, crossroadsartalliance.org. So please check that out. You can also access their website from our website. And you can also check Google. I did want to also say yay to the scavenger hunt. Over 135 passports have been passed out. I loved reading that. Do we have a time that we're gonna stop those scavenger hunts, or are we just gonna let it go till we're out of shirts? Okay. Awesome. That makes me so excited to hear that. I am also excited for that walking history brochure that we have the intern working on. I'm excited to see that. I think you said September. So thank you guys for doing that. I'm excited. And then one last thing, school starts back for Prince William County, August 19th. So I really hope that everyone is patient and kind and courteous as these students are reestablishing their routines back in school. Please stop for school buses, stop for pedestrians. Everyone needs to get to school safe. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson Gallagher.
You stole what I was going to say. Chief, I do not have a dunk tank, but I can offer up a slip and slide if you'd like to, do I'm sensing a competition there as well, so no, I am gonna, I just have a couple quick things. I do want to echo my colleague. So thank you very much to Scout for coming out, and most importantly for sticking around to the end. Always good for me personally to see somebody from 1882 in the house. A little kind of fun one. 1882 actually was founded in Haymarket. We tried to get 1799 for the troop number. It was not allowed. Somebody in Centerville had it. So 1882, for those who are not aware, is the year that the town was incorporated. All right, so we took the next best thing. So that when you see that number, that's what that means. So there's a little trivia for you as well. So a little something. The other thing I just wanted to do tonight is I wanted to just give a spotlight on one of our local businesses. I think it's a local business that sometimes goes a little bit hidden. There's no signage in town. But for those who are not aware, there is a local chiropractor here in town, a comprehensive chiropractic. Dr. Doug Obetz there is currently in Paris treating Noah Lyles, who just won the gold medal. He is a longtime patient. Noah obviously is from Northern Virginia, fairly local from Alexandria and Woodbridge, and has been coming into town on a regular basis for many years to get treated. And now, of course, he stays down in Florida and they travel to him. But that is all done by a local business here. I think it's probably going to go one of those things that goes unnoticed and unmentioned. But I did want to make sure I put a little bit of a spotlight on that for everybody who is out there listening in the audience or anybody that is watching online. And with that, that's all I had.
Awesome, thank you. I was gonna say, so now it's my turn, of which everybody has said what I was gonna say. So humbled to serve with everybody. I do want to make certain that I share my excitement in tomorrow night. Very excited to spend the evening with everybody. Want to make certain that I make note that I'm very confident in not only our chief, but our police force in keeping our town safe. So thank you very much. I am humbled to serve next to every single one of you. So thank you for making note of not only our businesses, but our events and the things that we do as a council together. So thank you. I wish everybody peace and happiness. So thank you. And with that,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Yay.